What's up, you bastards? It's been a good long while since I've done a video, and mainly because this trucking stuff has got me busy, and mainly because I got a lot of other, different little hobbies and projects that I do in my free time, and, somewhat for the lack of content, I've pretty much just been living the lifestyle more than just, really trying to push and preach, anything that I really know or have experienced, and I should be sharing a lot of that with you guys. But other than that, it's the fact that I usually rant and ramble and rave when I do tend to go off, and that's why I try to script or at least half script most of my stuff when I do anything, because I go way off the rails. So anyway, I'm going to start a new little kind of series here about my experiences, or I guess combine my knowledge so far in my first year and a half as a truck driver, almost 2 years. And this is going to be for anybody who wants to get into the business, anybody who wants to be a truck driver. These are the things that after, just doing what I've been doing for the amount of time I've been doing, I think everybody needs to know. So this first video is just going to be an introduction, just an overall thing. And so far I have probably about 10 different topics that I'm going to try to split up or combine, however I'm going to do it. So there'll be introduction, then I'm going to go over things to bring in another video. I'm going to go over what you're going to expect in a training school, what you'll expect for your first month on the road driving, your truck, and basically the operation, just the different kind of features and different things you could expect in a truck, hours of service, driving tips, methods, routing, different stuff like that, defensive driving. I'm going to go over loads and procedures, basically, what you do from A to B. I'll go over truck stops, some of the major ones, what you can expect there, where you can find them, where you should go, where you shouldn't go. I'm going to go over a little bit of eating on the road, although I'm going to end up being a little bit hypocritical about that, because I can tell you all day long what you should be eating on the road and how you should eat, and I still eat like shit, so I do need to change that. And I'm going to go over, not necessarily, I guess, the company specifically, because I don't want to disparage anybody or any particular company, but the different types of freight that you could be hauling. So, and this is just right now, I'm still in the midst of writing up all this, so this is going to take me a good little while to get through and to hash out, and there'll be some stuff I'll combine and remove, and there'll be a lot that I'll end up putting in. But I think right now what I have is a good introduction to the trucking industry. So, first of all, trucking, at least in my opinion, is got to be, it can be, if you let it, it's got to be the easiest job in the world. At least by my eyes. I mean, second to just sitting on your ass getting money for free, or, I'm sure, people in the sex industry or whatever make, buku money and everything. They make good money. I'm sure even the athletes and everything, but for the amount of work you're going to put in and the amount of money that you can get in return, this has got to be the easiest job in the world. This job is not recommended for those who are married, in relationships, have kids, have any kind of, like, not saying close-knit home family life type deal, but I mean, if you're the type that you're expected to be home all the time and you've got all this and you're expected to show up to this and you're expected to show up to that, it's not going to work out. The more money, and I'll go over this too in a little bit, the more money or the more time you can spend out on the road, the more money you're going to make. That's just the way it is. I mean, that's simple common sense. Now, for older people, older couples, things like that, I've seen a lot of like, couples in their, I guess late 40s, 50s, something like that, who their kids have grown up and whatever, and they seem to make it work. And this video isn't about that, but I have seen it work out with older married couples, and I've actually seen a few families on the road. You get some of these trucks that's got these like super sleepers, like a fucking camper, like on the back of your, like it's just like an RV with a fifth wheel on it. It's fucking ridiculous. I've seen a few instances where there have been a wife and kids in the truck on the road. I don't know how that works. I don't know how schooling and all that works, but I guess it works. So, the job isn't for those who are lazy or not very motivated. And when I say that, I mean, like, if you just kind of, just feel like laying around and you're not really watching your time very well, like, this job is not labor intensive at all. I mean, unless you're talking about, like, having to, move pallets by hand, with a hand jack and all that. And there's lumper fees you can pay to have other people take care of that. They have the service there. Why not use it? Most companies will pay for the lumper fee, so you don't have to touch the freight at all. And for what the company's going to give you and the amount of work and everything you're going to put in, it's just better to have them pay the lumper fee and, not even bother. But what I mean by that is sometimes you have to take initiative. There are times when you're going to have to make decisions on your own that either dispatch is not going to be able to respond to very well or very quickly. You're on the clock. You've got time ticking away. And so it's your ass out there on the road. You're the one making money. You're the one responsible for your loads and your time. So, and just a prime example, though, the first company that I worked at, it was mainly drop and hook. And we dropped a trailer at this one place, and they didn't have an empty for us to take. And we were in an area that we've been in before, and we knew there were other certain places that might have a trailer. And instead of waiting half an hour to an hour, sometimes it takes dispatch to get back to us about, there's a trailer here or there's a trailer there. We just went around to the places that we figured would have a trailer, and sure enough, they had one there. And sure enough, we just said, screw it. We asked him if we could take it, because sometimes they have them booked for loads. He goes, no, you can go ahead and take it. And we went in there, hooked up to it, and hauled ass and left. Saved ourselves an hour and a bunch of frustration and bullcrap. So, just things like that. Sometimes you have to work with time management and everything. You have to basically, if you need to get somewhere in a certain amount of time. Like another prime example is, you have to take a break every 8 hours of working. And so, basically if you have like 15 and a half hours to get to your location or something like that in 2 days, you can make sure you drive 7 and 45 minutes and then 7 and 45 minutes the next day, and you won't have to worry about stopping for a break. That's providing you can actually hold your bladder for that long. But, it's stuff like that. Like, if you can time everything where you're not spending the extra half an hour just sitting there, then you can usually pull that off. It's just different time management things like that. Money management, too, especially in your first year, and I'll get to that here in a minute. Fucking reefer just kicked on. Money management, you're not going to make all that much in your first year to, or 10 months to whatever in your contract. So you got to plan accordingly. The company will pay for certain things. So this job is not for those who get road rage easily or lose their temper in traffic. Like, if you're just driving along and somebody cuts you off and, motherfucker, kind of shit like that. Everybody does that, and you will find in a truck, everybody on the road will do that, damn near. It's just one of those things you're going to have to accept. It's one of those things you're going to have to deal with, because if you get pissed over every little slight and every little anything that anybody does, you're going to wear yourself out in no time. Not to mention there's a lot of people out there who would just love to get up in front of a big truck and brake check you. And if you hit the back of their car, that's your ass. And that's another thing I'll go over in the whole driving portion of it. You're always at fault. And I know that's kind of like, oh, but I did this and I did that. It's kind of a prejudice type thing with the truck drivers. We are a special breed of vehicle on the road. Basically, it's our fault. In the eyes of the law and society, it's our fault. We've gone through school. We should know better. We're commercial vehicles, so we're beholden to all this and beholden to all that. And people try shit. You will find people will try just the goofiest shit. Things can always be fought over and everything in court, and if it's you prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't your fault, usually shit gets worked out. But the prosecutors, they will comb through all of your records, all of your driver logs. They will want your phone records. They will want everything. So you have to really watch what the hell you're doing. And mitigating things like that in traffic with road rage and with people, it's just easier to just grumble to yourself and let them go. For those who have drug problems, alcoholics, things like that, you will be drug tested initially when you start going through school and everything. Of course, you're not allowed to have any drugs or anything like that on the truck. You're not allowed to have alcohol on the truck. And, of course, it's like no shit, no open container. No. Unless it's in the back of the trailer and it's on the manifest, you can't even, say, go to a boutique store and buy a nice, fancy bottle of wine somewhere, and you're going to go, oh, when I get home, I'm going to drink this. Nope. No alcohol allowed on the truck at all, period, unless it's in the back and it's on the manifest. Same thing goes with, fireworks and shit, too. And you drive all over, you will see fireworks stands out the ass in certain states. Nope, you can't buy fireworks or anything like that either and keep them on the truck, unless they're in the back and they're on the manifest. So, basically, if you can't go a week or two without a drink, this isn't going to be the job for you either. You can't even go somewhere and have a drink at a restaurant somewhere and then come back on the truck with it in your system. The legal limit in a commercial motor vehicle is .01, and I mean that's the littlest, the smallest of smallest amounts. If you blow a .01 while driving a commercial vehicle, you will be shut down for a day your first time, and I'm sure there's a lot of other shit that goes with that. The second time, they're going after your license. The gray area, and I've done this a time or two, and it shouldn't be, it really shouldn't. If you're at the shop and you're in for repairs and you're sitting around waiting at the shop, you can't either. But there's been times where I've been sat up in a hotel room for 2-3 days, knowing that I'm not going to get access to the truck. I have had a couple of drinks, and that's the gray area there, kind of at your own discretion. But I've always been sobered up enough before I even got back to the truck that I didn't have to worry about it. I finished up, what I bought. That's kind of the... Now, I think that's more of a company policy thing. As long as you're not caught with it in your system or on the truck. Now, there will be certain times if you get pulled over for a inspection or the officer has probable cause or whatever, depending on the level of suspicion, the level of inspection that the DOT officer is going to want to do, it's rare in certain cases because of all the shit and the paperwork that's got to be gone through. But I mean, if it's a thorough inspections, and because there's certain levels where they just want to take a look at the outside of your truck, and then they go deeper and start looking at your belts and your wires and your your hoses and your brakes and all that. And the higher level of inspections, they can pull you out of the truck and get in your truck and start looking in all the cubby holes and all of your stuff, and search your truck too. They can also hand you a cup and say fill it up right there on the side of the road if they want to. So this isn't like if long as I don't get in trouble, then I'll be fine. Nope. Most of the time, if they feel like it, and it's rare, it is rare, but if they feel like it and they've got suspicion, they can make you fill a cup right on the side of the road. No shitting. It's not for those who already have poor driving histories. They check your driving records. They go back as far as they can go. As far as the law allows, it's like 10 years for certain things and 5 years for some. And I mean, little minor traffic tickets, maybe a speeding or two, a goofy turn kind of thing, maybe a seatbelt thing, it's not that bad. You're talking about like wrecks and massive damage and, casualties and shit like that, DUI, DWI, whatever. Yeah, you're going to kind of be hit with that. But you can have a few different things and they really won't say anything. I mean, everybody screws up, so. But you will be subject to traffic report, a vehicle history report, so just keep that in mind. As I said earlier, you are beholden to DOT regulations, which includes the operating of the vehicle, the inspection, all this and that. You have to keep in mind your vehicle and your gross vehicle weight and your weight on your axles and all this and that. You have to make sure you're operating within those tolerances, because they have a CSA point score, and every infraction is a certain amount of points, and so many points, and your license gets suspended or taken away or doxxed, and certain companies won't hire you if your score is over a certain amount. You also have to go through a DOT physical every 2 years. Now, that's providing you're in relatively good health. And you have to get that renewed every 2 years. You have to go to a physician that's qualified to do that, and they do blood pressure and heart rate and all that, and they ask a few questions, and just general whatever, and they print you out another card, and you keep that in your wallet with you so that when the DOT officer wants it, you can keep that and show it to them. Certain health problems may disqualify you, but as long as it's managed, you shouldn't have any problems. These are things like diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea. What's the other one? The flashing lights one. Like epilepsy, things like that. As long as it's managed, and the doctor, has proven and can confirm that it is managed, you should be fine. But the amount of time between renewals will be greatly shortened. Sometimes it's anywhere from every 6 months to every 3 months, depending on the severity. So this is a great job if you like the solitude. You don't need much social interaction. You can get up and do the job. And of course, with now today's technology, we have cell phones, we have, different things like that. So you can always keep in touch with the different friends and family and whatever at home that may need to get a hold of you for something real quick, or, different things like that. So, that's always a plus. But basically, most of the time you get your load, and depending on, especially over the road, you can end up with a load that you'll be 2, 3 days in between, where you just pick up the load and you drive for 8 hours and you park at a truck stop, you get some sleep, you get up, you drive another 8, you park at a truck stop, you get some sleep, you know what I mean, till you get to your destination. And so it's, we're kind of the modern day cowboys. I mean, that's what we're doing, is hauling freight and pushing stuff from location to location. So there is 250,000 driver shortage in this industry. So they are desperately needing drivers. But this industry has the highest turnover of any other industry. And it's mainly because of a lot of the things that I've stated earlier about the poor driving record, the road rage shit, the drug and alcohol shit. A lot of times the home life interferes. People just aren't willing to stay out, and it wears on people. All sorts of things. There's also a high injury and mortality rate. A lot of there's a lot of drivers that do end up in accidents and do end up getting hurt and killed. It's a dangerous job. You're basically driving a 70-foot long, 40-ton sledgehammer. There's no stopping that thing on a dime. I mean, you hit somebody, you're not hitting them, you're going through them. And if your vehicle is veering off the edge, off of the side of the road, your vehicle's going to go where it wants to go. So always practice the safe driving. But, I mean, a lot of the injuries, too, are just getting in and out of the truck. Getting in and out of the trailer. There's many strains and sprains and slips and falls just by that operation alone. It's kind of funny. But I mean, you watch what you're doing. You practice your safe. 3-point up and down. At least 3 points of contact when you get in and out of your truck, and you watch the ground and the condition when you get in and out of the truck, and you just really have to pay attention to what you're doing. A safe and efficient driver, though, can go anywhere with their CDL in their pocket. You put your name up on a board for companies to call you or whatever. They will call you nonstop. 8, 10, 12 at a time will call you every other day. They want you to drive with their company. Now, not all companies are made equal. You're going to have to shop around, because some of them will sell you a bill of goods that you get behind the wheel of their vehicle, you find you're not getting half of. The company I started with claimed, drivers can make $55,000 in their first year, and I wasn't going to see anywhere near that. There's, one set of circumstances, like if I were to have gotten into the company a month and a half, this is behind the wheel, a month and a half or so before wintertime. So I got my 30 days with my driver, with my trainer, and then done the 2 months or 3 months or whatever of winter driving that was necessary to make 4 whole months in total of experience. I could have then became a trainer, done the owner-operator thing, and then not only operated my own vehicle, but then trained people as well. And that's providing you get the loads and everything too, and you get a good co-driver that's actually willing to work. Then, and only then, when all those pieces fall into place just perfectly, you might catch a whiff of that 55,000. It never happened. It never even looked like it was going to get close. So just watch what the company tells you, and do some shopping around, do some searching on forums and everything. Now, with that, that being said, and I'm going to touch on this here in just a minute, people tell a lot of shit too. They have a bad experience, or they fuck up in any one of these ways up above, and then they blame it on somebody else. So you always have to keep that in mind as well. Look into a lease purchase program, but not with these big school companies. Uh, it's just they're too big. They've got too many students coming in. They've got not enough freight and too many trucks. That was one of the reasons why I had to leave the company I was with when I initially started. Too many trucks and just not enough freight. We'd be sitting most of the weekend every weekend. It just wasn't worth it. But you want to try to get into owning your own truck as soon as possible because you get more of a percentage of the load. You have the ability to decline loads if you don't feel that you can make it on time, or there's an area you just don't want to go to, or you have that ability. You can customize your truck once it's paid off. You can repaint it. Now you still probably have to have the company logo on the side, because if you're still contracting through them, which is what a lease owner purchase program is for, or does, is you're basically a private contractor. So as long as you're contracting with or through a company, you need to have their logo and shit on the side of your truck. But you can customize with all the lights and the decals and all that shit you want. And I've seen all kinds of trucks customized all kinds of ways. Going back to the declining loads, though, you do have to remember that consistently or constantly declining loads, though, may result in the driver manager not offering you loads or not offering you good loads. You have to remember that, too. Just declining a load because you don't want to take it or you don't feel like it or whatever, they're going to get to the point where, oh, well, they just keep declining the loads, so I'm not, let's just not even give it to them. You don't want to get stuck in that rut either. If you can take it, you should take it. The only time I've ever declined loads, I think I had to decline a load once because I was on my way home and it wasn't my regular driver manager and they didn't get the memo or didn't take a look at their board or whatever right. And I'm like, no, I'm going home. I'm on home time. This is on my way home. I can't take this load. And the only other time is like I just don't have the time to get there and fuel up and wash my trailer and do all this and that and get there on time. I'm just not going to make it. And so those really is about the only acceptable times you should be declining a load. Like I said, you can customize your own truck when you pay off. You can work when you want. Now, you can take as long as you need when you get home. Like my first company I worked at, you can't take any home time until after 3 weeks. Then you get 3 days. And then it was like for every week after that, you get a day. But, I don't know, they tried this crap where it was like I only got one extra day. If I worked 5 weeks, they weren't even going to give me 5 days. It was like, what the hell kind of crap is that? Like, I understand I can't 2 weeks, but when you bust your ass for 3-4 months straight and you want about 6 days at home, come on now. That really pissed me off. But, I tend to stay out 2-3 months at a time. So when I go home, I want to have about a week off. You got to get shit done. You got to, sometimes you got to get home and pay your taxes. Sometimes you got to get home and do some work on your car, have it inspected, get your tags and your stickers and all that shit for it. Sometimes you got to do home repairs. Sometimes you just want to have some drinks and veg out and light fireworks, like on the 4th of July, It ain't nothing better than getting drunk and blowing shit up. I wouldn't recommend it, but, hey, it's fun. So, you can stay out as long as you want. At home. You can also stay out on the road as long as you want, too. Which the other company actually encouraged too. Oh, they loved it when we stayed out 4 months that one time, but they pissed and bitched when I wanted to have 6 days at home. But you have to remember, more time out on the road, more money. More time at home, less money. So you have to remember to balance your work and your expenses to what you can and can't pay. And your DM will usually, at least here in this company now, she'll call me around the last day or two that I'm going to be, home that I'm getting ready to go back on the road, and just ask me, is everything all right? Has anything come up? Are you still good to go out on the road? This and that, because she'll work ahead with planning and try to get me a load already set up and already committed to, so that the day I do want to go out, I just got to get up and get ready and go. And I'm not like, all right, I want to get on the truck. Oh, okay, we got to find a load. No, they're usually pretty good, this company, about getting you set up right away. Way ahead of time. So once you own the truck, you get more money in your pocket, because now you're not having to pay the truck payment every week. That's just a given. That's just a plus. The other thing is, too, once you pay the truck off, and what a lot of people don't understand with the lease purchase program, the payment, you pay a certain amount a week for a certain amount of weeks. At the end of the lease, you don't own the truck yet. There is a balloon payment at the end, where then you pay off the rest of the truck and you get to keep it. If not, you turn that truck in, you sign another lease, and you drive another truck. This is what catches a lot of people off guard. This is what pisses a lot of people off. But I will tell you, I've looked at what I make and the potential of what I can make, and in the time that they give you to come up with that money, it's easy to come up with that money as long as you budget and as long as you plan your expenses. It's not that hard. It's not out of the range of doability. That's what pisses a lot of people off. They spend every penny they got. They don't realize they got to pay taxes out of the shit, because private contractor, they don't take taxes out. You're basically self-employed. You have to take your own taxes out of your paycheck and pay that every quarter, or if you feel like every year. You have to pay your taxes. You get the 1099 and all your settlements and everything. Whatever comes out from your bottom line at the end of all that, that's what you owe taxes on. So, like, your truck payment's not, is tax deductible. All of your insurance, all your fuel. This company, the other company, they paid for all the fuel and all that. But of course, I didn't get very much in pocket either. This company here, for the first 6 months, they paid everything but I think 33 cents a gallon, and now they're paying everything but 99 cents a gallon. So I'm only paying $1 a gallon on the fuel for the truck, and they pay for all the DEF, the diesel emission fuel, and they pay for the fuel for the reefer trailer. So all I'm in it for is $1 a gallon for what goes in the tractor itself. Once you own the truck, though, you can lease another truck and drive that truck and do the whole lease purchase thing again. But if you know somebody who's a driver or who has a CDL who wants to drive, you can keep your old truck on the road and hire that driver to drive that truck. And now you have a little fleet of 2 trucks making twice the money. Of course, you won't get all the money that truck gets, but you'll get a good chunk of it, because you still got to, now that you own that truck too, any driver you put in it now is technically your employee. So you have to pay their payroll and all that stuff too, and that becomes a whole rigmarole. But it is a way to basically expand your business, to make more money. You can eventually amass your own fleet if you keep doing that. And the more money you make, you can eventually start buying trucks outright. And you can have 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 trucks, all contracted to the company that you're contracted to, but all under your LLC, all under your supervision, basically. So you get a cut of every single truck that you own out on the road, plus the one you're driving. And, not a bad racket. Now you got to be careful about who you hire and everything too, because you don't want somebody wrecking the shit out of your trucks. But the thing is and you still got to pay tax on all that too, and coming back to all that, keep all your receipts and everything for food, supplies, parking, all your expenses. Keep track of those because you can always have them deducted at the end of the year to come off of your net, and you have to be able to pay less in taxes because it's all a business expense. So there are certain routes and route types. You got over the road, of course. That's good long stretches of time of mileage. You're going to be out for long stretches of time. So this is you're basically living on the road. You get to drive all over, or at least most of the country. Some countries companies don't go very far. The company I'm with, we really don't go out west very much. I would like to. They're talking about looking into it. Their problem is they can get freight out there all day long, but they can't seem to find shit to bring back. I don't know why. I guess they're working on it. So I usually don't go any more west of Texas. The other company, we went all over because they hauled different stuff for different people. You got regional drivers, which they usually stay within a couple of states. They're usually home. You're usually out a couple days, a week. So you're usually home about every weekend, every week, or every 10 days, something like that, And a lot of the regional, you got regional dedicated. Dedicated is, you can be over the road or regional with a dedicated route, but you're only going to go to the same places all the time. It's, you're going to point A, point B, point C, point D, and you're coming back around to point A. You're just basically making a big circle or working within one particular company to do, loads for that particular customer. So you might not see all the same, all the different places that you could possibly see if you were over the road or doing long haul, but the routes are predictable and the mileage is predictable, so there's a lot of, there's really not a whole extra lot that's up for question. Then you have local, which is, usually city to city. You go to your terminal that's closest to you and you pick up your load, you get your trailers or whatever, and you drive to the next city over, and then you repower in that next city and bring something back to your home terminal, and then you get in your car and you go home, and you're home every night. They're not paid very well, though. I mean, unless you're with a good, experienced company, a reputable company, and you're experienced and you're safe and you've been with them for a while, you could potentially make as much after about 3-4 years with them as you could just starting out over the road. These are a lot of the guys that after they do their over the road and everything, they come home, because they got families and stuff like that. Those are the ones who really want to do these local jobs. The problem with local, too, is you don't have as much of the solitude and as much of the just being left alone to do your job type thing. And a lot of times, too, these companies are paid by the hour. You're not paid by the mile. So with over the road, and the whole trucking industry is a matter of hurry up and wait. Hurry up and get here, now wait. Hurry up and wait. But with over the road, usually you're dealing with time in a matter of hours. With location to location, with local, it's minute to minute. I mean, if you're not there when you need to be there, right about on the minute, you're screwed. At least with over the road, you've got a couple hours here and a couple hours there for wiggle room, and you can. There's some times where you get going a little early and you might be a little bit tired and everything, and for your half an hour break, you might decide to take an hour or an hour and a half and just drop back in the back and take a nap real quick and kind of refresh in the middle of your shift. You can do that on over the road. You cannot do that on local. Not to mention they drive the day cabs, so all you do, all you got's your driver's seat and your jump seat beside you. No bed, no nothing, nothing like that. So You got agriculture, which usually is like grain, crops, stuff like that. Most of those are usually local because they go from farms to local plants or farms to stockyards where they feed the animals, farms, different stuff like that. You have your livestock haulers. They're usually local or maybe regional, but the problem with the livestock haulers is due to DOT regulations, they're not really beholden to the hours as far as your clock and all that, because as a guideline, the animals are not allowed to be confined in that trailer for no more than, I think, 30 hours. It's something like that. So, you can maybe drive 10 hours, sleep for 10, drive for another 8, but the livestock cannot be in that trailer for more than 30 hours. So, you got to get to where you're getting on time and quickly, or there's a whole shitload of other stuff that can come because of that, because of the whole animal and cruelty to animals and all that stuff that deals with that. You got your permit loads, which is your oversized loads, over length or over height. A lot of times you have to get a special permit, and permit per load too, not just, oh, I haul oversized for a living. Yeah, you got to do all that, but then each load has to have its permit, along with its manifest to know you're going here, you're going there. This is your dimension specifications. A lot of times you have to have an escort too, depending. Usually over height, it's almost always. There's a certain cutoff. A couple of inches to a foot over height, maybe not, and a couple of feet over length, maybe not. But there's a certain cutoff where you have to have an escort, so you have to work on that. Now they get a lot more money. They definitely get a lot more money. Same thing with these these vehicle haulers, where you see 8, 10 vehicles on these things. They make a lot of money. They also have to be very careful about because their loads are worth a hell of a lot too. Then you got construction. It's most always local. They work on job sites and stuff. Very dirty work. A lot of times it's sand or raw materials or refuse, stuff like that's got to be pulled in and out of there. I'm not sure if they have to adhere to DOT hours, but due to the way they work and the types of, it's probably not even going to be an issue because they're on the job, 10 hours maybe a day, and then they turn around and they come home and probably don't even work the weekend, or if they do, it's overtime, and then that's a whole other animal. But a lot of times they won't work the amount of hours before the cutoff during the day, and they won't work the amount of hours that's the cutoff during the week without resetting over the weekend. So it's almost not an issue. You still have to have your CDL and all that, and there's a lot of other things you got to deal with. You've got your different load types, which some of that got a little bit mixed up there. You got dry van, which is just basically your standard box, 50 or 53 footer. No refrigeration, no special extra anything. That's just for general all purpose. Doesn't need climate control, doesn't need this or that special. Just basically your basic dry van. Then your reefer is basically your dry van with a refrigerator on it. And, the trailer is built in such a way, too, where they get in, you can spray it down with the sprayers and the soap and everything, and it's, usually the dry vans have wooden floors, and the reefers have these kind of corrugated type floors where, made out of aluminum or steel, I think it's aluminum, where when you spray and everything, and all the runoff goes through the grooves and out the drainage. You got, your flatbed, which is usually for like your sheet metal and your roll of metal, or as they call those big rolls, they call them suicide coils. Because if the strapping and everything goes on them, all hell breaks loose. Flatbed's good because you barely have to back up at all, except maybe into a truck stop into a parking space. But you don't have the whole box blocking your view. You can actually see over the back of the trailer to where you're going. I mean, unless you're loaded and you're loaded up there. You got to worry about special strapping procedures and different things like that too. So you got to watch with all that. Proper dunnage, proper secure, your load secure, all that stuff too. Tarps and all that. But I mean, for the most part, you pull into a lot somewhere and they can side load you or side unload you by a forklift. I mean, it's got its advantages. So you got tanker, which most of the time is hazmat, fuel, stuff like that. I mean, there's even like water. People haul water, milks, different stuff like that. The tanker, you got to watch out with load surge. Like if you stop real quick, your load's sloshing around in the back. And if it's like fuel and different stuff like that, non-edible, they usually have baffles in there, so it helps with the load surge. But stuff like food, like milk and stuff like that, they can't put the baffling in there because there's too many cracks and crevices that then have to be sanitized. So it's a whole other ordeal there. You have possum belly trucks. Usually end up carrying like sand, gravel, different stuff like that. I guess some of them can carry grain and stuff too, but those are the big ones that's kind of got the little like troughs in the bottom. I've seen a lot of those for construction sites and stuff. Side dump trucks I've seen too. Where you just pull the thing and the whole trailer lays to the side. The whole, the cup or the bucket on the top of it just dumps over, and that's mainly like construction and everything too. I went over livestock and oversize and touched on the vehicle carrier a little bit. Doubles and triples usually are for the local or the location-to-location loads because it's easier to load up smaller trailers and compartmentalize the loads easier. So, like, say, if you're going from, I don't know, like, let's just say, for example, from Oklahoma City, and this might not be correct because I think, well, doubles are fine, but like triples, I think triples in the U.S., and you can also have double full length too. I've not seen except maybe once up in Washington or Oregon or some shit like that. Usually, if your doubles or triples, they're the small pup trailers, like the small 40-some foot trailers. I've seen a few like double full trailers on the interstate, on the turnpikes, but I think one time I saw a triple full length. That's the most you're ever going to see, though, here in this country. I've heard in Australia, because the roads are so long and so straight, that they'll just hook as many as they can to a damn train. It's like a train. But, like I said, the doubles and triples are basically for your location to location, your parcel carrier, stuff like that. So, I mean, basically, like I said, and it may be a little bit different with whatever, but I'm just kind of using this as an example. Say you're picking up in Oklahoma City and you got two trailers, and so basically you're going down south with these two trailers to Dallas-Fort Worth, but one of them's going to Dallas and the other one's going to Fort Worth. So you take these two trailers down to, say, your Fort Worth terminal, you drop both of them off, another driver will come along with another trailer that's already going to Dallas and will pick up your Dallas trailer too and then take it over across the way to Dallas. It's just easier to compartmentalize the loads and the trailers so that they don't have to be constantly unloaded and reloaded and reconfigured. you kind of just take them as far as you can take them and drop them off, and then somebody else will pick it up and kick it on the rest of the way over. It happens a lot. It's mainly a lot for the bigger cities and the different suburbs, like Chicago, San Antonio, different places. Even L.A. Out in Southern California, there's so many different terminals, and they're so close together, but there's so many people that they serve. So you got a lot of that going on. There's 3, 4, like say FedEx terminals and UPS terminals and stuff in Chicago alone. Now there's certain endorsements you have to have, and I'll touch on this real quick. The industry is going mainly to automatics. So if you can't drive a manual, basically the same way like your eyeglasses, you have to have a restriction. You have to have a restriction on your license, and manual or automatic is another restriction. If you can't drive a stick, then it has to be stated on your license that you're automatic only. But there's things like your hazmat. You have to you got to take all the classes and all this stuff for your permit to get your CDL. Then there's a whole other test and everything you have to take to get your hazardous material endorsement, so that you're certified. You know what you're carrying and what happened in an emergency, and all the procedures. You get your endorsement for hazardous material. I believe it's the same for oversize. I know it's the same for passenger. So say if you drive a Greyhound bus, you still have to have a CDL, but you also have to have a special endorsement, because now your cargo is people. It's a whole other different thing, and so you need that special endorsement. And I also believe doubles and triples, you have to have a special endorsement for that too. Each endorsement is an extra thing that you can do. As far as, now I can do this and I can do that, and it's more money down the road. So definitely look into getting the endorsements you can get into. Don't let the other drivers discourage you. This is one of the big things here too. As I said earlier, many of the bad stories that come from the people on the road are either people who've been ill-prepared or ill-informed. They end up having a bad experience, turn around and blame it on everybody else. So this is also true not only for companies, but for route types, load types. Somebody will tell you, oh, do local, and somebody will tell you, oh, don't do local, and oh, don't, oh, reefer sucks. Oh, dry van's easy. Oh, dry van sucks. Shop around. You're probably going to end up starting with dry van first of all. So, I mean, you just got to do what you got to do to get a leg up in the company and in your industry. So, like I said, always research and compare. Once you get your information and know what you're doing and know what you want, as I said earlier, the companies will fall all over each other to get you hired, and they will promise you anything to get you in. So, do your research, be skeptical, but shop around. And finally here, most of all the major trucking schools that you'll go to are really, they're really crap. I mean, they will pay for your education if you go through their company and you do their training and you do all their stuff and you do their contract and you do with them. It's basically a free CDL. They will waive all the fees for all that, but there's a lot of crap you got to go through. You have to remember this is going to be a training experience, though. You're not going to make nearly as much money as you want to make or you think you're going to make in the first year. You're just not. I mean, if you're only used to working fast food or maybe some crappy factory job at $9 an hour, yeah, what you get will be great. But it's nowhere near what you could be making in the industry. It's just not. But remember the fact that they are training schools. They are they're driver mills, and the fact that they haul freight is secondary. That's what I've found out. Like I said, too many drivers, too many inexperienced drivers, not enough freight to go around. Let's see, I got a few bullet points here. The first year be mainly a training experience, less than average pay. You'll be under contract, and you won't get paid for the first handful of weeks while you're actually at the school. You'll have to remember that. So you need to have up money saved to not only eat and take care of what you got to take care of while you're at the school. You have to have enough money saved up that your bills are paid up when you're not at home. And I'll go over this when I talk about the training school. It was 5 weeks before I got my first paycheck. So, and there is an opportunity, and I'll touch on that too. There might be an opportunity after you get everything taken care of at the school, and there might be some wait time or some extra time where they'll do they do shuttles to push people around, and here and there from the hotel to the training school to back to the terminal, back here and there. Where if you volunteer, you can make a few dollars an hour, driving around and everything, driving people around. But yeah, you got to make sure you have your money for food and your money for your bills for the first couple of weeks, your first month, because you're not going to get paid till you get out on the road. And so I think that's about it as far as an introduction. I think that was a pretty good introduction. I think it kind of lasted a little bit longer than I hoped. Yeah, it's about an hour. I kind of wanted it to be less, but hopefully the others will be shorter. So yeah, just stay tuned and everything. I'm going to go over a whole lot more things as I go. And yeah, let me just end it here. Take care, you bastards. I'll talk to you later.